This concludes part 2 of my special edition Giro d'Italia that has dipped into all 20 regions of Italy to discover a few of what I consider to be the quintessential food and wine pairings that no visitor should miss. You will find much more detail in my weekly discussions with wine producers, sometimes chefs, who give us a deep dive into their lives, into their homes, and into what they most enjoy eating themselves. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today's episode, my 157th, celebrates 3 years of weekly episodes of Wine, Food and Travel with Marc Millon. This is part 2 of a special edition, a whirlwind Giro d'Italia, visiting each of Italy's 20 regions to highlight the quintessential foods and wines from each. Last week we covered the first 10 regions, so to complete the series, here are the remaining 10. Molise. Molise is the newest of Italy's 20 regions, a breakaway from Abruzzo that only acquired independence as a region in 1963. It is also the second smallest after Valle d'Aosta. The one fragment of the region flanks the Adriatic. This is a sparsely populated, mainly mountainous land of shepherds and farmers. The hard durum wheat grown here is used for both artisan pasta manufacture as well as handmade in homes and restaurants into an ingenious array of shapes using only durum wheat flour and water. Fusilli, strips of pasta twirled around a wire, are a particular favorite, served in a rich lamb ragout spiked with peperoncino. Or else, lamb is grilled over open fires as in Abruzzo. Both dishes paired perfectly with a glass of tintiglia, a grape variety probably introduced by the Spanish during their long rule over southern Italy. Cheeses from the milk from cow, water buffalo, goat, and sheep are all delicious, especially mozzarella di bufala, which, when encountered extremely fresh on the day that it is made, or maybe just a few days at most later, can rival examples from Campania. White Biferno from Trebbiano Toscano and Bombino can pair well with these creamy, fresh dairy products. Piedmont. Piedmont, the foot of the mountain, is a region that is aptly named, for this large northwestern corner of the country lies under the shadow of the Alps, with snow-covered peaks often visible from throughout much of the region all year round. Piedmont's capital city, Turin, was the first capital of the newly unified Kingdom of Italy under King Vittorio Emanuele II in 1861. The Savoia lands at that time had extended over the mountains into French Savoie, even including the city of Nice, conceded at unification, and also including the island of Sardinia. Today, Piedmont is a prosperous region through both industry and agriculture, and with gastronomic traditions that reflect something of the multicolored cultural heritage of the Savoia. In the north, around Vercelli, is one of Italy's main rice-growing areas, and it's a striking sight to see those snow-covered mountains reflecting in the glistening rice paddies around Vercelli. Cereal and livestock are cultivated in the flatter plains that eventually lead down to the Po Valley. But in between is a ripple of hills in an area known as Le Langhe, around the wine capital of Alba, source of some of Italy's greatest wines. These hills are not only the source of Barolo and Barbaresco. In autumn, the woods are the precious hunting ground for one of Italy's and the world's greatest gastronomic delicacies, the tuber magnatum or tartufo bianco d'Alba. Indeed, from October through early January, gastronomes come from around the world to sample at the source this rare and in demand tuber, found by trained dogs and their canny masters, to be shaved raw over any number of foods, from the simplest fried egg to more considered and elaborate piatti. For me, the best way to sample the white truffle, should you happen to find yourself in Alba or surrounds at this time of year, is simply shaved over a plate of handmade, fine tagliarine pasta, bathed in butter, covered with as much shavings of tartufo as you can afford. The wine to pair with this? Some choose a white, such as a Roero Arnese, or maybe a Timorasso, but for my taste, I can think of nothing to beat a Calice of Barbaresco, the lighter and more ethereal expression of the mighty Nebbiolo grape, pairing well with the truffle, which is not so much a flavor or a taste as a heady and intoxicating aroma, a fleeting sensation that is almost drug-like. White truffles are amongst the most expensive food products in the world, gram for gram. Other gastronomic highlights are much more down to earth and humbler. Another autumn specialty is bagna cauda, a pungent anchovy, garlic, and extra virgin olive oil hot pot served in an earthenware bowl kept warm over a tea light, to dip in seasonal vegetables such as fennels, peppers, carrots, cabbage, the cardigobi of Nizza Monferrato, bread, and anything else. Traditionally, bagna cauda is served on San Martino, November 11th, and best with the new dolcetto, its fermentation perhaps not quite complete, so still foaming and even a touch sweet, to down by the jug as you enjoy this simple repast eaten with the hands. As the seasons move from autumn to winter, other favorite dishes are found in ristorante and osterie, including bollito misto, great trolleys of simply boiled beef, usually at least 5 to 7 different cuts of prime fassone. Or in the wine country, risotto al Barolo is a favorite dish in homes and restaurants alike. Beef braised in Barolo, accompanied, of course, by that king of wines. Puglia. Puglia is a large southern region that forms the heel of the Italian boot, for long considered the Garden of Italy, a rich agricultural source of so many good things to eat and drink, including around 40% of Italy's olive oil. Vast quantities of durum wheat used to make bread and pasta, an abundance of fabulous sun-ripened vegetables, including tomatoes, courgettes, aubergines, beans, fennel, peppers, onions, artichokes, and more, to be enjoyed in the region, sent throughout the rest of the country, as well as conserved traditionally sotto olio, packed into jars of extra virgin olive oil to provide goodness all year round. Sparse upland areas such as Morge provide grazing for sheep and goats, source of rich milk for a range of cheeses, as well as for delicious meat. And the long Adriatic and Ionian coastlines provide a wealth of wonderful fish and shellfish. Some say the best bread comes from Altamura, while Puglia's most famous pasta is orecchiette, little ears of pasta handmade by women on their doorsteps in Bari and elsewhere from simply durum wheat, water, and the skill of their fingers. Orecchiette can be enjoyed with any number of different sauces or toppings, depending on availability of ingredients and the season, perhaps with a lamb ragout in winter or as simple raw tomatoes in summer. My favorite is orecchiette con cima di rape, with turnip tops, stewed in Puglian extra virgin olive oil, garlic, and plenty of peperoncino. For me, the taste of Puglia, paired possibly with a good rosé, such as Castel del Monte, Bombino Nero Rosato. Puglia may seem like a far-off outpost, but it has been a well-traveled land since antiquity, when the great Roman road, the Via Appia, led from the Eternal City to Brindisi, the port that was a gateway to the eastern Mediterranean. Crusaders set off and returned from here too, bringing back with them wealth and influences from the Orient, and over the centuries it has been a byway for Lombards, Normans, Byzantines, Venetians, and more. Today, Brindisi is an important fishing port, and octopus fishermen may still tenderize their catch by beating it on shoreline rocks. The favorite preparation for this 8-limbed mollusk is purpú a piñata, octopus stewed in a terracotta pot with cherry tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil, wine, garlic, and peperoncino. Though a full-flavored rosato from Salento might pair well with this seafood feast, I'm leaning towards a Salice Salentino Negro Amaro Rosso, full of plummy fruit with medium-high acidity that cuts through the rich sweetness of the octopus. Sardinia. Sardinia is the second largest island in the Mediterranean and has long been a glittering prize as well as a staging post for peoples traversing the seas for centuries and millennia. The Greeks, the Phoenicians, the Romans, the Byzantines, and for some centuries the Spanish and the Savoia all passed by. Through it all, the Sardinian people have remained stoically courageous and fiercely independent, traditionally turning inland rather than to the sea. Masters has changed this to a certain degree, and a coastal cuisine makes full use of the bounty that comes from the sea to serve in resorts that cater to the well-heeled. Local lobster is served over a bed of fregula, a local pasta made from coarse semolina rubbed with water to form hard balls, rather like couscous, while fish such as sea bass, John Dory, and red mullet are served simply grilled. Anchovies are salted to be conserved, and the roe of the grey mullet is salted and dried to make one of the island's great delicacies, botarga, to eat in thin slices on bread, topped with a drizzle of olive oil, or else grated over pasta. Sardinia's best white wine comes from the Vermentino grape, which here on the island and notably in the vineyards of Gallura has a fuller, richer character that pairs so well with this full-flavored island maritime cuisine. Inland Sardinia remains a land of herdsmen, where sheep and goats are tended both for milk. Sardinia is the source of some of Italy's finest pecorino cheeses, as well as meat. Cooking is at once timeless, yet also highly skilled, with lamb, kid, and sucking pig stuffed with wild herbs and placed on spits, to be turned by hand as the meat slowly cooks to just the right degree of doneness over a bed of fragrant wood embers. Indeed, porcedu, sucking pig, cooked in this manner, served with pane carazao, thin flatbread cooked in a wood-fired oven, and paired with a tumbler or glass of cannonau, is truly the taste of Sardinia. Just as there is a vast array of handmade pasta that is unique to the island, Sardinia can also boast an array of wonderfully simple, sweet concoctions made from flour, sugar, eggs, and little else. Seadas is a traditional fried pastry filled with young pecorino cheese and topped with local honey. Pappasini are biscuits filled with almonds, raisins, and honey, never too sweet and delicious, with an amber glass of Vernaccia di Oristano, an oxidized style of wine that is unique to Sardinia and connects with the island's Spanish heritage. Sicily. The history of Sicily can be found in a delicious, crunchy bite of one of the island's most famous specialties, the cannolo. The sheep's milk ricotta with which this delicious tube of fried pasta is filled harks back to the ancient Greeks. In Homer's Odyssey, there is a description of the one-eyed Cyclops Polyphemus from his home on the slopes of Mount Etna, straining the whey in withy baskets to make this cheese. The wheat to make the pasta is a reminder that Sicily was a breadbasket for the Roman Empire. Those pistachio nuts that stud the shell of the fried pasta were introduced by the Arabs, who brought so much else to the island. Chocolate came from the Spanish, the candied fruit from the French, while the British can even claim that touch of Marsala wine that is sometimes added as a flavoring. Why not continue the connection by pairing your cannolo with a tot of Marsala, or perhaps with a dessert wine whose antecedents go back much further? A passito from the island of Pantelleria, made from Zibibbo grapes left to shrivel in the heat of a near African sunshine, utilizing methods not that different to those used by winemakers in antiquity. Across centuries and millennia, foreigners have passed through Sicily, exploited it, and also left their influences, not least on its richly textured and flavored cuisine. The Arabs introduced citrus trees to Sicily and brought irrigation for the cultivation of rice. Arancini are balls of rice filled with a meat ragout and peas, then breaded and deep-fried, another quintessential flavor that Sicilians miss when they've been away from home for too long. Enjoy this street food with a carafe or tumbler of catarratto. For an island people, fish of course is a staple of the diet. Cheap, everyday fish like sardines or mackerel, as well as great steaks cut from huge tuna and swordfish, and precious shellfish such as the gambero rosso or red prawn of Mazzara del Vallo. Those tuna and swordfish steaks are grilled like red meat and paired with red wine, while those beautiful red prawns are exceptionally sweet and best enjoyed crudo, raw, with a chilled glass of Grillo. Mazzara in the west of Sicily is also the home for another dish that showcases influences from afar, the North African specialty of couscous, here in Sicily, made not with lamb, but with fish and shellfish, paired perhaps with a glass of inzolia, or if you can find it, with grillo di mozia, a wine that comes from a tiny island that was once a powerful Phoenician colony. Pork from the black pig of the Nebridi Mountains is superb and goes well with the full red wines of Sicily, Nero d'Avola, Cerasuolo di Vittoria, and Nocera, as well as with wines made from international grape varieties such as Syrah and Cabernet Sauvignon. In Lingua Glossa, on the slopes of Mount Etna, butchers hand-cut on wooden trunks a famous sausage, salsiccia al ceppo, to be simply grilled over wood embers, beautifully paired with a calice of Etna Rosso, perhaps Sicily's greatest wine, or full-flavored Etna Rosato. Pasta alla Norma comes from Catania, a city that was the birthplace of the composer Bellini, made with salted and fried aubergines, tomatoes, and topped with ricotta salata, hard, salted ricotta for grating. This lovely dish is just gorgeous, with a glass of slightly chilled frappato.
Who wants to be the next Italian wine ambassador? Join an exclusive network of 400 Italian wine ambassadors across 48 countries. Vinitaly International Academy is coming to Chicago on October 19th to 21st, and to Almaty, Kazakhstan from November 16th to 18th. Don't miss out. Register now at vinitaly.com.
Tuscany. Tuscany is the Italy of all our dreams, the cradle of the Renaissance, its beautiful countryside the backdrop of a painting by Leonardo. Its historic cities and towns such as Florence, Siena, Pisa, San Gimignano, and others are amongst the most popular and visited in the country. There is a strong Tuscan identity that is often linked to the city or town, or even the precise neighborhood or contrada from which a person comes, and this is reflected not least in loyalty and taste in both food and wine. Tuscan cuisine is essentially rustic country cooking, and all the better for it. The hearth is still the heart of both homes and restaurants alike, and even something as simple as fettunta, no more than a thick slab of good, unsalted Tuscan bread, toasted over wood embers, then scraped with a clove of garlic and drizzled over with Tuscan extra virgin olive oil, a sprinkle of sea salt, is transformed into something simply divine. Crying out, of course, for a good glass of the local wine, wherever in the region you happen to find yourself. That distinctive unsalted bread forms the basis for any number of dishes, too, such as that favorite summer dish, papa al pomodoro, a sort of tomatoey mush, or ribollita, a wintry minestrone spooned over stale Tuscan bread to become thick and delicious, or panzanella, a bread and tomato salad that is truly the taste of summer. Pasta dishes are mainly simple too. One classic is pici, or pinci if you're in Montalcino. Long hand-rolled noodles made from no more than durum wheat and water to be bathed in any number of sauces, though the classic favorite is asciugo made from cinghiale, wild boar, fabulous with a good glass of Sangiovese, Tuscany's greatest grape in all its various manifestations. Chianti Classico, Chianti Rufina, Chianti, Rosso di Montalcino, Brunello di Montalcino, Morellino di Scanzano, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, amongst many others. Any of these wines would also be the wine of choice with another simple and glorious Tuscan favorite, bistecca alla Fiorentina, a T-bone steak as thick as you want it. Indicate with your fingers, 2 dite, 3 dite, 4 dite, to be cooked over that hearth and seasoned, yes again, with the Tuscan gold, extra virgin olive oil, often produced from olives grown on the same estates as the wines, and often costing even more than the wines. Tuscany has a seaboard on the Mediterranean, of course, and seafood is an important feature too. Caciucco from Livorno is a one-pot fisherman's stew made from whatever has been caught that day, best partnered with a zesty vermentino. Perhaps if you want something with a little more structure, then with an oak-aged or skin-contact Vernaccia di San Gimignano, Tuscany's most historic white wine. To finish, lots to choose from, including cakes with unusual spicing and flavors, such as pan pepato, flavored with black pepper and chocolate. Or why not settle in with a small glass or two of one of Tuscany's great passito dessert wines, Vin Santo, made in the traditional artisan fashion from grapes, Trebbiano, Malvasia, or sometimes Sangiovese, laid out or hung from strings to dry in Ariatics before fermentation in 100-liter caratelli that are left only partially filled before being sealed and placed in attics for a period of years. The wine that eventually emerges is simply glorious and far too good to waste by dunking Cantuccini biscotti into. Trentino Alto Adige. Trentino Alto Adige, or Trentino Sud Tyrol, only became part of Italy following the Treaty of Versailles at the end of World War I. Prior to this, it had long been a part of Austria. While the Italian-speaking Trentino region welcomed the change, it is fair to say that the people of Sud Tyrol, the German name for Alto Adige, were not, and still are not, wholly convinced. The German language remains the official language of Sud Tyrol, which has been occupied by German-speaking inhabitants since at least the 8th century and was part of Austria from 1363 until the end of World War I. Today, the province seems Austrian in just about every way, architecturally, linguistically, and not least gastronomically. This mix between the Italian heritage of Trentino and the Austrian of Südtirol results in a particularly delicious blend of flavors. Speck, the hind leg of pig, dry salted and smoked in a chimney, is an example of the Germanic traditions of meat curing that came here centuries ago, first with the Lombards. Canardly are delicious bread dumplings flavored with speck, poached, then fried in butter, lightly soft pillows of deliciousness that are perfect with a glass of Trento Doc, classic method sparkling wine, the sparkling wine from the mountains. Smoked, boiled sausages are served on platters of sauerkraut, simmered in wine and spices, perhaps paired with an aromatic Gewürztraminer or a golden Muscateller. Hearty one-pot dishes such as Austrian-inspired goulash or goulias are enjoyed in both Trentino and Südtirol. The paprika-flavored beef and potato stew paired with a powerful Teroldego Rotaliano in the former or with a Lagrain from Südtirol. A typical farmer's repast in Südtirol might be a platter of speck and smoked wurst with local cheeses such as Isaactaler or the more pungent Puzzone di Monea, served with Schüttelbrot, the favored crunchy flatbread of the region. This, together with a carafe or bottle of Kerner or Vernaccia, makes a most satisfying meal. Umbria. Umbria, the green heart of Italy, is one of only 3 landlocked Italian regions located in the center of the country, bordered by Tuscany to the north and west, Marche to the east, and Lazio to the south. The countryside is characterized by rolling hills that lead up to the Apennines, and there are scores of beautiful medieval cities and towns that attract visitors. Perugia, Assisi, Spoleto, Gubbio, Orvieto, Montefalco, amongst others. Gastronomy and wine are one of its main attractions too. The region boasts some of the best salumi, cured meat products, in all of Italy, with butchers from Norcia particularly skilled in the craft, so much so that the term Norcineria has come to denote specialists in the production of salumi wherever they are located. Enjoy then some fabulous platters of affettati, sliced cured meats, as well as some of the best porchetta you'll find anywhere, delicious stuffed into a panino, to eat with the hands, the grease dribbling down your chin as you wash it down with a tumbler of Rosso di Montefalco. Food here is mainly unpretentious and down to earth. The humble lentil takes pride of place, especially a variety grown around the village of Castelluccio, simmered with vegetables and wine, and topped with a juicy grilled salsiccia or two. I'm reaching again for that bottle of Rosso di Montefalco, or perhaps an Orvietano Rosso, made from a blend of grapes including Sangiovese, Montepulciano, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and many others. Fish and seafood don't feature that much on Umbria's menu, though you'll find a delicious freshwater catch from Lake Trasimeno in lakeside osterie and restaurants, simply paired with a carafe of Grechetto or Trebbiano from local vineyards, or with a good bottle of Torgiano Bianco or Orvieto, a wine that was famous even in as far back as Etruscan times. Don't miss enjoying tartufi, truffles, throughout the year, whenever you find yourself. Crunchy summer truffles to grate in abundance, prized and expensive white from October through December, and pungent and deeply flavored black truffles to last through winter months. The best wine to enjoy with truffles, with a plate of strangozzi pasta bathed in butter, then grated with summer black truffles, I'd go for a lighter summer red, perhaps a Gamay from Trasimeno or a Torgiano Rosso. White truffles need to be served as simply as possible to enjoy their intense and intoxicating fragrance and aroma, maybe on a plate of scrambled eggs with a glass of Trebbiano Spolettino, the full-flavored and structured white, a noble partner. Finally, with winter black truffles, perhaps served with a rich stew of cinghiale, wild boar, we can savor some of Umbria's greatest wines, Sagrantino di Montefalco and Torgiano Rosso Riserva. Valle d'Aosta. Italy's smallest region, Valle d'Aosta, is bordered to the west and north by France and Switzerland, and to the south by the region of Piedmont. It's a majestic mountain land crowned by snow-covered Alps, an historic crossroads since antiquity, connecting Italy to northern Europe today via the Mont Blanc Tunnel and the Great San Bernard Pass. This is a favorite winter sports playground for both Italians and people from all across Europe, while in summer, excursions to the high mountains are equally popular. Not surprisingly, in this alpine region, the gastronomy is strictly robust and hearty mountain food, the sort that satisfies after a day or days spent mainly outdoors. Perhaps the most famous dish is fonduta, made with fontina cheese, served at the table fondue style, or else spread or spooned over cooked vegetables, potatoes, or toasted bread. The wine to accompany this is an ethereal, light white mountain wine, Blanc de Morges et de la Salle, produced from the Pré Blanc grape, a variety that is cultivated in the highest vineyards in Europe. There's a long-standing tradition of artisan salumi produced in the mountains, including a jambon de Bosse PDO, an air-cured prosciutto flavored with fragrant mountain herbs, or lard d'Arnaud PDO, salt-cured and air-dried lard, also flavored with those mountain herbs. Plenty of local sausages, and perhaps the region's most curious specialty, teuton, cured cow's udder. The wines to enjoy in Valle d'Aosta's unique range of salumi, or should we say charcuterie, in this bilingual region, is probably one of the region's Valle d'Aosta DOC Reds, made midway down the valley, primarily from the Petit Rouge grape, possibly from a precise subzone such as Tourette, Arvier, Chambord, or Nusse. It's not surprising that game features, especially during the colder months, with feasts of venison paired with red wine from Donat, primarily from the Nebbiolo grape, a lighter and more ethereal expression of that great noble grape of Piedmont. Veneto. Veneto is a northeastern region that encompasses Venice as well as the terra firma mainland that became part of this powerful republic as the Lion of St. Mark extended its influence across cities such as Padua, Vicenza, Verona, as well as north to Treviso and its province and beyond into present-day Lombardy, Friuli Venezia Giulia, as well as down the Dalmatian coast of Croatia. Today, Veneto is one of Italy's most prosperous regions, an economic powerhouse and a prolific producer of both prestigious wines that rank among the country's finest, as well as everyday wines that have long slaked the thirst of wine drinkers in the region, as well as further afield. One food staple that unites the people of Veneto is polenta, the cornmeal mush that historically became an essential element of the diet ever since maize or corn was introduced into Italy from the New World and brought to Veneto by Marc Antonio Serrego, a pioneering agronomist. By sea or lagoon, it might be white polenta with sardines or cuttlefish in its own ink, perhaps paired with a garganaga or a Thai. Inland, it's almost always yellow polenta to enjoy with grilled meats or sausages, or perhaps a rich, winey concoction such as pastisada di caval, horse meat stewed in red wine, the specialty of Verona, and the wine to enjoy with that rich specialty, of course, of Valpolicella Ripasso. Rice, particularly Vialone Nana rice, cultivated south of Verona around Isola della Scala, is utilized to make risotti, the most famous, perhaps the most delicious, of which is risotto all'amarone, accompanied, of course, by that king of wines, Amarone, made from Corvina and Corvinone grapes that have been left to dry and shrivel for a period of some months in Ariatics to result in this famous passito heavyweight. Seafood risotti are delicious paired with Suave Classico, while the Venetian favorite Risi e Bisi is delightful with a glass or two of sparkling Durello. Speaking of sparkling, one of Italy's most famous is, of course, Prosecco, the best examples coming from Conigliano Valdobbiadene and Asolo. Prosecco Superiore from these two zones always makes a perfect aperitivo with Venetian cicchetti, such as fried fish, polpette meatballs, crostini topped with baccalà mantecato, or tramezzini, triangular filled sandwiches. Of course, the spritz comes from Venice, and while these days Aperol has gained in popularity, to drink like a Venetian, always order yours with Select, the bitter of choice in Venice. Veneto offers some great cheeses, notably Monteveronese and Asiago, mountain cheeses that pair beautifully with local wines, the former with straight Valpolicella or Bardolino, the latter perhaps with a rustic Rebozo. To finish the meal, end with a passito dessert wine, either red Ricciotto della Valpolicella or white Ricciotto di Soave, perhaps served with a slice of Pandoro, the traditional cake of Verona, perhaps served completely on its own to enjoy as a vino da meditazione. So this concludes part 2 of my special edition Giro d'Italia that has dipped into all 20 regions of Italy to discover a few of what I consider to be the quintessential food and wine pairings that no visitor should miss. You will find much more detail in my weekly discussions with wine producers, sometimes chefs, who give us a deep dive into their lives, into their homes, and into what they most enjoy eating themselves. Thanks for listening. Thanks for helping me to celebrate 3 years of weekly podcasts on Italian Wine Podcast. See you next week. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Wine, Food, and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe right here or wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.